The theater smelled of dust, velvet, and old ambition. Backstage lights cast long shadows across the floor, turning cables into snakes and curtain ropes into gallows. Clara Whitmore stood in the wings, script clutched to her chest, listening as the audience applauded a name that should have been hers. They chanted his name. Julian Cross, celebrated director, visionary, talent hunter. The play on stage was her work. Word for word, scene for scene. Even the pauses, the deliberate silences she'd written like held breaths, were intact. Except her name was nowhere. 2 years earlier, Julian had praised her draft over coffee, calling it raw and dangerous. He had offered mentorship, revisions, exposure. Clara, young and desperate, had believed him. Months later, his production opened with a different title, a revised ending, and his name etched across every review. When she confronted him, Julian smiled kindly. "You're talented," he said, "but talent needs a steward." That night, Clara didn't cry. She took notes. Clara disappeared from the mainstream theater world. To Julian, she became another unfinished playwright, useful once, forgettable after. But beneath the city's cultural noise, Clara worked quietly. She rented a forgotten black box theater. No signage, no press releases. She posted anonymous casting calls that read like riddles, seeking actors comfortable with discomfort. Roles may resemble people you know. The auditions were private. Phones surrendered at the door. She watched closely, not just for talent, but for wounds. Actors who'd been discarded by Julian. Assistants whose ideas he'd taken. A former lover whose career collapsed after refusing him. She didn't explain the play. She only said, "You'll be playing yourselves and someone else." At night, Clara rewrote. Not the stolen play, but a new one. A mirror. The script was titled Director's Cut. On the surface, it was a satire about a legendary theater director mentoring a young writer. Familiar territory. Safe. But inside it lived another play, one that peeled back scene by scene. The director character spoke Julian's lines verbatim, lifted from emails and rehearsals. The humiliations were subtle at first. A rewritten scene here, a stolen credit there. Then the cruelty sharpened. The director isolated the writer, gaslit her doubts, publicly praised her while privately erasing her. Clara staged it with surgical precision. Lighting shifts mimicked Julian's rehearsal habits. Blocking mirrored his physical intimidation. Standing too close, touching shoulders under the guise of guidance. Every choice was intentional. And then she invited him. An anonymous note reached Julian's assistant. "A play inspired by your work. A tribute. Private preview. No press." Julian, flattered and curious, attended. He sat center row. At first, Julian laughed. The audience did too. The director on stage was charming, brilliant, cruelly funny. The young writer glowed under his attention. Then the laughter thinned. Lines grew uncomfortably specific. Moments echoed rumors Julian had buried with settlements and silence. Whispers spread through the room. When the actor playing the director delivered a monologue, one Julian had once spoken in confidence, the audience went still. Julian shifted in his seat. Clara stepped into the light, not as herself, but as the narrator. Her voice slid through the theater via a hidden microphone, calm and intimate. "Some stories," she said, "are written twice. Once by the author. Once by the thief." Phones came out. Someone recorded. The final scene showed the director alone on stage, applauding himself as the writer vanished into darkness. The applause that followed was uncertain, but loud. By morning, clips flooded social media. Critics debated. Survivors spoke. Former collaborators posted screenshots. Patterns emerged. Julian issued a statement, then another. Lawyers followed. Sponsors withdrew quietly. Festivals hesitated. Clara didn't give interviews. When asked if the play was about Julian Cross, she replied, "It's about power." The theater sold out for weeks. Every night, Julian's likeness was performed by someone who understood the cost. And yet, nothing definitive happened. No court ruling. No verdict. Just erosion. On the final night, Clara stood backstage as the cast bowed. She didn't join them. Instead, she watched from the shadows as applause rose, this time not for a name, but for a truth that had found its stage. Julian never attended again. Some said he was finished. Others said he'd return under a different banner. Clara folded the script and placed it in a box labeled "Performed." She didn't feel victorious. She felt complete. As the house lights dimmed, she whispered into the microphone one last time, not for the audience, but for herself. The stage remembers. And then she turned off the lights.